Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm just going to give people another 1 or 2 minutes to join before we kick off. Just I know people might be grabbing their lunch and things like that. But thanks so much for joining so promptly. While we're waiting, please feel free to say hi in the chat. And we'd also love to know a bit about your organization, so where you're based, who you help. I think we'll mainly have an audience of charities and nonprofits, but sometimes we get consultants as well who work in the nonprofit space. So it's always great to hear a bit more about you. So yeah, please feel free to say hi in the chat and tell us a little bit about yourselves. I'm also here with Tony, who's my co-presenter today.
Hello, hope you're all well. Glad to be on board.
Awesome. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us. So Chris is with me in the Pravi team. Great to have you, Chris.
Hey, you're right. I'm getting my camera off though while I'm having my lunch. You don't want me to see me.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I totally appreciate that a lot of people are probably eating their lunch right now, so no problem at all.
Lovely to meet you as well, Tony.
Nice to meet you. Well, it's made me hungry now. I completely forgot about lunch.
Oh no, I've got mine like queued up to go as soon as we finish here. So
yeah, I used to apologize if my belly rumbles.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got like a good group of people. I'll keep letting people in from the waiting room, but maybe we'll kick off, Tony, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Cool. So just a quick outline of today's session. Tony and I will do a very quick introduction so you know who we are. Then I'm going to hand over to Tony for her section, which is turning clicks into donations. After that, I'm going to do my section, which we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into lead capture, why it's important and how we can do that as a small to mid-sized charity. And that will kind of be linked into the information that Tony's going to give us as well. In terms of Q&A, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we're going. We'll probably pick up most of them at the end, but we'll leave time for questions. And also, I will send out the recording and I'll send out the slides to everyone who's registered. So if you have questions later or you feel shy and you don't want to ask us in the chat, you can always reach out to me and Tony and ask questions afterwards as well. Can you pop on to the next slide for me, Tony? Thank you. So I'll give you a very quick introduction about myself. So what you can see on screen here is a QR code. If you scan that with your mobile phone camera, it will take you to all my links. So LinkedIn, email, the Pravi website. So please connect with me if you haven't already. I'm the co-founder of Pravi. We're building a platform to help charities of any size find and convert new individual donors. Now, when you come and hear about people talking about building technology, you might be used to it all being done, all singing, all dancing, promising to solve all your problems. It's actually an exciting time for us at Pravi because we're still building it now and we're releasing new features all the time. I'm going to give you a bit more information about the platform at the end of my session. And I'll hand over to Tony to introduce herself.
Cool. Thanks, Robin. So I'm Tony. I am a web designer for charities and nonprofits. I did, previous to the last 12 months, I did used to design predominantly for small businesses, but I made the shift into the charity and nonprofit sector, mainly because it just aligns with my values more. So I've been working on this on the last 12 months, so building up my connections in this area. I've also got a background in marketing as well. So I've worked for various different marketing companies over the years. This particular web design business I've been working on for 5 years as well. So I know a lot about web design and marketing. So in a way, it's a bit of a USP. So I kind of coupled them together and I bring with me this kind of marketing strategy with all my sort of website work. Again, please scan the QR code. This takes you to my LinkedIn. So feel free to connect with me on there. And yeah, that's me really. So if we're all ready to get started and get stuck in, I'll get cracking.
Amazing. Thanks, Tony.
Bit short and sweet there. So in my session, we're going to be looking at turning clicks into donations, which is what we all want. So we're going to look at what makes a great donation page. We're going to look at the user journey. And we're going to look at adding more value to the donor offer. So making that a little bit more enticing as well. We're going to look at the donor journey as well. So this is all web-based, so on it's kind of web templates. I'm going to show you. We're going to take a little look at campaign goals as well and capturing warm leads. So obviously, when we get them to the site, if they haven't made a donation or they haven't done an action, we want to be able to capture those leads as well. So hopefully it's going to be a good all-round session, and I'm hoping that you'll pick up some good tips. So I'll get going. So first of all, what makes a great donation page? So I've put together a couple of examples of just 3 websites because they've got some good points that I want to show you and some kind of bad points of what not to do, really. So hopefully you'll get some takeaways from this. So first example is the Mind website. I'm sure you've all been on this site or come across Mind. They're a very big charity. And they do this very well, as I'm sure you know, they're a huge charity. So their donation page it's bright, it's vibrant, it's clear straight off as soon as you land on it. And what I notice is that straight away we have this strong opening message and image. So straight away when you land here, you're not kind of being pushed or forced into donating straight away. You're not they're not going, hey, give us your money right now. You know, they're kind of warming you into it with a nice strong message. And then they've got a clean and easy to use donation portal. So it's quite simple, nice and easy. I think most users see portals a lot like this, where you can donate different amounts. And then they've got a nice little message here on how your donation will help. And I think a lot of charities tend to forget that because you're in your charity all the time, the user doesn't necessarily always know how it's going to help. They just perhaps know they want to help. So it's nice to just reinforce that message on, you know, here they've got £20 could help our info line answer calls, giving people vital support. So that's really nice to know. So that would entice people to then go, oh yeah, I'm going to give £20, and you know, so it just reinforces that message. They've also got a nice little quote at the bottom. I couldn't fit the whole thing in here, but so this is almost like a little bit of a case study quote, and you can add case studies here. I think that's a really good idea. So again, if they're not quite ready to donate in this area, you're kind of giving that nice message again, you know, look how we've helped somebody else. And it's just kind of enticing them a little bit more into caring that little bit more, you know, to kind of push them over the edge, if you like. So I think Mind do this really well. I'm going to show you another example. This is a smaller charity, Community Environmental Council. And you can see straight away it looks a little bit duller. They have got a nice clean donation portal here, and they've got some good calls to actions, which is quite useful. But they lack here in showing that impact of what a donation will do for their cause. And one thing I do want to point out is that perhaps you might be thinking, okay, what if the user has come here from a social media post that you might have put out, or maybe they've come here from an About Us page and they've already been kind of moved towards the donation. So you've kind of got to think about that as well. And I would say that every opportunity you can add these case studies and reinforce that message, because even if you have put it on social media, you can add a different case study on here or a different quote that just, again, pushes them over the edge. So, and also you don't want to lose out on the viewers that have just landed here. Do you know what I mean? People that haven't come from the social media or the email marketing or whatever it is you've done. So you may also have those types of people. So yeah, every opportunity you can, I would add case studies or a quote, or just explain to them what's happening with that donation if you can. Another quite good example is the RSPCA. You've probably seen this site as well. So what I really like about their donation page is that they break down their donation. So on here, it's got how we use every pound. I think that's a really nice touch, because a lot of times even I give to charities and I don't exactly know what's happening with, you know, all of that donation. And you do get those kind of people that go, oh, you know, I don't know if I want to give to charity because I don't know where the money really goes. And, you know, you get those types of thoughts. So I think this is a nice way to be give confidence and instill a bit of trust in where their money is going and be honest. You know, I think it's nice for people to know that, okay, some of my money is going to help you with fundraising and marketing. Some of my money is going to help you with governance and support. And I don't think people will mind, you know, that not their whole amount is going to the full cause. So yeah, I think that's definitely worth a thought. If there's a way you can break down, you know, even if it's £10 or £5, it's up to you. It's whatever your, you know, your charity needs. And again, they do they have a really nice donation portal here as well. But on theirs, they've added quite an impactful image. And I think that's quite nice. So without having to say too much and put loads of text and loads of stuff on there, they've said it in one image as well. So then that's how they've reinforced that kind of emotional touch. The dog on the right actually looks like my naughty dog, who I've actually chucked downstairs. Because whenever I'm on a video call, she just starts spinning and goes crazy. She just wants all the attention. So yeah, she reminds me of my dog. But yeah, so the key takeaways from that, so just having a quick look at just a few examples, is remember to show the impact of what a donation can do. So through case studies, quotes, things like that. Break down the costs if possible. So for example, £20 feeds a family for a week or whatever it might be. Just think about where the money goes and how you can show that, maybe in like an infograph. You could even do that in a video as well. That's not a bad idea. Clear donation process, so don't make that complicated. Keep it easy, quick. You know, most people have seen those kind of nice, simple, embedded donation forms. And then add impactful imagery and video where possible. So hopefully that all makes sense. And now I'm going to dive into the user journey. Robin, stop me if I'm going too fast because I'm always like trailing away.
No, I think we're all good, Tony. Like everyone, just maybe you can just put your questions in the chat if you have any, but right now I think we're all good.
Oh, cool. Okay. So looking at the user journey now, I could go on and on about this forever, obviously with my marketing background, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to touch on some really important key kind of hooks that are really good for your website, which predominantly are found on a home page, or they can be found on a landing page. So it's kind of something that I've learned over the years, a few tricks of the trade really. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this amazingly designed template that I did. Don't judge me on this, honestly, I don't design websites like this, but this is just an example. So I'm going with a homepage example. And what many people don't realise is that you've only got around about 7 seconds to hook people in. And admittedly, a charity is a bit different because you might have a little bit longer because people are actually, you know, looking to support a cause, hopefully. But the general rule is 7 seconds. So we need them to understand who you are, what you do, and you know what they should do. So the first thing we're going to do is have a kind of who you are, which is typically your logo and your brand. Now, some logos don't exactly say who they are. So in that case, I would suggest adding like a little tagline or something on the top banner if you can, just so people know who you are really quickly. And then you have what do you do? So bear in mind, this is in 7 seconds, so they know who you are really quickly. What do you do? So I would put that as a headline, a nice big bold kind of, this is what we do. And so they know that instantly. And the next thing your users should know is, why should I care? Because they'll be like, okay, I know who you are, I know what you do, but why should I care? You know, so you've got to then kind of add a little bit more, talk about your mission. Don't make it War and Peace, just a small sentence or a subheading. Talk about why they should care about what you do. So they know who you are, know what you do, they now care, hopefully. And what do I do next would be their next thought. So, okay, where do I go now? What should I do? So on here, I've just added 2 little call to actions. I wouldn't have too many more than that, because I think if you bombard them with, I mean, don't forget this is 7 seconds, so you know, you don't want millions of buttons all over the place and they're just going to get confused and they're just going to go away. So 1 or 2 calls to action, and that might be to support your cause, it might be to learn more, see a case study, whatever is most important to you and your charity, or your cause. Think about that, think about where you want them to go. And sometimes they might not go straight away, so they might now care, and they might go, oh, so I do care, but I'm gonna have a nose around, and you know, but that generally is your 7 seconds. And this little line here is what us web developers and designers call the fold. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So that is kind of where your 7 seconds should be, where you should hook them in. And then anything below that, they're going to start to drop a little bit. So that's where we need to put as much effort in as possible to keep them on your page. So you might want to add a bit more of an about. A video is also really good near the top of the page, if you can do, just to give a bit more in depth about what you do. And the user then is kind of going to go, oh, okay, so I care, and oh, I'm going to have a look at this video, and oh yeah, you know, that's a nice story, or that, you know, I'm quite interested there. And then they might carry on and have a little nose around some more, and then this is where you can start to add more options and be a little bit clever with, okay, so you've come this far and you're now sort of around the middle of the page, you haven't made an action yet, so what we're going to do is going to give you a bit more, a breakdown. So you know, you might want to just list all the things that they can do to help, or you might want to show your campaigns, or it's just giving them more options of, you know, okay, we think you might be wanting to do one of these. So that's kind of the best practice there. And that then keeps this top part not so, you know, populated with loads of things to do, because we're enticing them in basically as we go. And again, if they're carrying on, they're going further, just show some more of your campaigns. Hopefully they're just getting to know who you are. And yeah, that's the basics. But the main important thing here is this 7 seconds and making sure you answer these 4 key points. And as I said, it's mostly used on the homepage, because a lot of new viewers are going to go there, or they're going to go on a landing page that maybe you've done some SEO work on, or a campaign. But still, if that person doesn't know who you are, they kind of need these 4 things answered as quickly as possible. So that's a very brief look at a user journey on a typical homepage. So yeah, not going to war and peace on that, but hopefully that gives you some ideas. So just remember the who, what, why, and what next. Showcase all the types of support a donor can choose. Have a clear page structure. Don't overload it with too many things. And add video if you can. So that's the key takeaways there. Hopefully you're all still with me. I'll go on to my next session now. Which is, so add more value to the donor offer. So basically, if we look at donations, it's not all about money. Obviously, it's really important because your charity needs money, it needs funding. But there are other ways, I think, that you can do this, and you can package that money in something else. So you can, you know, you can offer merchandise, you could offer subscriptions on your website, you could offer memberships, you know, you could have things like gift a day, gift in wills, which I'm sure you've heard of. There's a local charity near me that did gift a day, which is Ironbridge Museums. And they got lots of corporate businesses to sponsor a day of them actually just opening. So it was just how much it cost to open the doors, turn the lights on, and, you know, do all this. And I thought that was quite a nice idea. So that obviously is more for like your corporate and your businesses. But in terms of getting donations from viewers coming to your website, I think merchandise is definitely one to look at. Which I've got a template that I've built for that, so I'm going to show you that in a second. But what I'm going to do is just jump into the donor journey. So we've already looked at a typical homepage and the 4 main points. And now we've got some different types of donor offers. So what I'm going to do is just show you a standard money page, and then I'm going to show you a merchandise page, and we're going to look at the differences and how they can be structured. Again, one of my wonderful designs. So this is a typical monetary donation page. So it's not merchandise, not product, it's just a standard page, which we're going to be asking people to donate money. Similar to the examples before, I've taken some good points from that. And first of all, we're going to kind of draw them in by an encouraging headline and a subheading. And then I've added this little breakdown area here. Also, one thing to remember is that those examples I showed you earlier, a lot of them are changing their websites all the time, their donation pages. So this graphic might change depending on what your campaign might be, or you know, you might have a different image on your page. So just bear that in mind, that it could be seasonal even. So yeah, these pages don't always have to stay as they are, but this structure is a good place to start, basically. So yeah, so we've got like a nice little breakdown, we've got a nice intro, and then we have our donation portal, and you'll notice it's not straight away in your face, it's a little bit further down because we don't want to be too pushy. We don't want to, you know, give us your money now. We kind of want to just draw them in a little bit. You can add a strong image, a bit like the RSPCA one. And as I said, maybe you could change that image per season or per campaign as you go. And then what I've done here is I've kind of sandwiched it in the middle of so we've got like a case study and a testimonial at the bottom. So if they're not quite ready to hand over their money here, again, I'm going to reinforce that emotional connection and draw them in again towards the bottom. So we're hoping that they have already donated, but if they haven't, we're just going to reinforce that message. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a good idea of a standard kind of monetary page. And the next one is the merchandise page. There we go. So I saw a charity who did this. I've actually forgot the name, so it was a few months ago, but I thought it was a lovely idea, and they sold everlasting flowers, and they're like these lovely metal flowers that they can keep forever, and they can put them in the garden and things. So if you can think of something that isn't just asking people for money, and you know it's relevant to your charity as well. In their case, it was in loving memory of someone that their family members know or friends. I think it's a really nice idea. So this is I've just based it on that kind of example. So what we've done here is similar to the other pages. We've drawn them in with a heading. We've got a nice image or a video, but this time it's going to show the product if you can. And you'll notice here, instead of just having everlasting flowers as the title, instead I've put buy everlasting flowers in memory of your loved one. So I'm kind of giving them the idea of why they'd want to buy them. You know, it's in memory, or it could be a gift for somebody else. However, it could work. It's just nice to add that into the title rather than just saying, you know, buy everlasting flowers, because they're a bit like, why should I? You know, you're kind of telling them why in a way. And then if they hopefully are ready, they'll click the call to action and go and buy it. If not, and they're kind of like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm going to still have a little look around. And then what you can do is then give more options around this particular product. So it might be that they could buy a bunch of flowers, or they could buy a single flower. If it's a subscription base, it could be that they pay monthly or they pay yearly, and you're kind of just breaking down the options so that they know that they've got more choice. And then they're kind of like, oh, okay, so actually I would like to buy a bunch instead, and you know, oh, I'll go and do that. And then here I've added another reason for buying them. So put a little bit like that breakdown. For every flower purchase, you provide support to someone who truly needs it. So you're reinforcing that emotion again. And then hopefully by here, they've clicked to buy. If not, and you need to put more effort in, so these pages can feel long, but there is that kind of psychological method and reasoning behind it. I'm sure a lot of you have been on landing pages before where somebody's trying to tell you something and you're like, oh my God, like when does this ever end? Because they're reinforcing that message and they're, you know, they're kind of saying it in different ways with different images and different, so they can feel long, but they're not really, if you think about it. So this user still needs a bit more of a push. So they've got a bit further down, and a great thing to do here is to show what everybody else has done with their flowers or their product. And then what that does is make them think about what they could do. So they'll go, oh, that person has put their flowers in their kitchen, and oh, that person gave it to their friend, and then it starts to put them in that position of, oh, I'm gonna do that. I want to put mine there. And so now they're imagining it in their own way, or, you know, where they're going to put it. So then they're even more certain, right? I know I can buy a bunch. I know I can put it in my kitchen, or I can do this. So yeah, I'm ready to buy this. I'm gonna hit that call to action. And you're probably wondering, oh my God, the actual product is right at the bottom of the page, but that's obviously what I'm talking about with that method. But then that's why we've got these call to actions throughout as well. So if they are ready, you know, you might have heard of an anchor link where you just click that and it will jump straight down to the product. So we're kind of hopefully ticking all boxes there. So yeah, that's the kind of differences. That there are similarities, but obviously a product is different to just asking for money. So hopefully you've got some kind of interesting takeaways. And I always say treat it like it's a date, or you're trying to get someone to go on a date with you. So you're kind of hooking them in that first fold, and then you're enticing them, showing them what options they've got and what you're all about, and then you're kind of bringing them in, and then hopefully they swipe right or they go on a date with you. That's kind of my way of remembering it. Anyway, you might have better ways of remembering it, but yeah. So moving on from that, so I understand obviously you're not all web designers. You're gonna perhaps be talking to your web developer or designer on, you know, I want to tweak this page. So you can always kind of draw it out, you know, think about it with your colleagues, what's the most important call to actions, and kind of then hand over a little bit of a brief to your web designer. Or you might be okay and you might know how to update your own website, which in that case is perfect. So yeah, so going on from that, what I wanted to show you is a program called Hotjar, which is it's an analytics tool for user behavior. So this works really well when you are building things like your donation pages, because once you've got them set up, if you link it to something like Hotjar, you can actually see where your users are going and what they're clicking on your site. So obviously most of you has probably got Google Analytics, so it's completely different to that. It actually shows you where and what they're doing on the page. And I'll just show you mine here as an example. This is free, by the way. You can upgrade with different options, but this is the free one, which works pretty well in my opinion. So this is my website, and this is a heat map. And what you do to link it to your website, it just gives you this little piece of code, and you just put it in the back end of your website, links it all together, and then you can tell it which pages you want it to monitor. So if you have just built a new donor page and you want to know, right, where are people going, what are they clicking, then you can use this to monitor that. And the first look is the scroll look. So you'll see here we've got this dark red area, and as I go down, the percentage is dropping. So these are real-time people that have been onto my site, and this is exactly what's happened as they've gone down. They've gone a little bit colder and they've dropped off a little bit. And you'll see here the fold. So that's what I was talking about before. So this is my 7-second area. What's also good is you can click on here, which will say clicks, and it won't just show you the kind of how people have dropped as they go down. It shows you where they've clicked and how many have clicked on what. So you'll be able to see, oh, okay, people are clicking my call to action button, or why is nobody clicking there? Maybe I haven't answered their questions up in this area. And obviously it kind of just gives you that indication of what's working on the page and what isn't. So I definitely recommend having a look at Hotjar. As I said, it's free. One more really cool feature it has is recordings. So you can actually see what people have been doing on your web pages. So it records, obviously you don't know who they are, it's all secure and stuff. It just shows a video of the mouse going across the screen. And it tells you how long they've been on the page, what country they're from, all sorts of things like that. So it's quite a nosy. It can get a bit addictive, so be careful. But one funny story, I actually, when I first set this up, I went on and I was like, oh my God, somebody's been on my page for like 40 minutes or 45 minutes. So I was watching and I was looking and I was like, oh my God, they've clicked there and they've done this and they've done that. And then after about 10 minutes, I realized it was me. And it was a recording of me on my own website, nosing around. So yeah, just remember that you go on your own website as well. So yeah, don't forget that. But yeah, definitely recommend it. It's a really good tool. And that will help you decide what's working on your pages and what's not, hopefully. So yeah, now we've got our donation pages ready. We know how to monitor them or have a look what's working and test them. So that then brings us on to campaign goals. I'm only going to touch on this because it is obviously there's a lot that you can do with your campaigns. So and I'm sure most of you do this or have done some of this. So it's basically how you're going to get that traffic to the site. And a big thing I think that Pravi lends its hand to is thinking about who your donors actually are, and that will play a massive part in the marketing side of it. So yeah, things like email marketing, social media, PR and advertising. And one thing that I think charities in particular tend to forget about is listings and forums. So when I say listings, I mean, like yell.com. And even though they are like directories, what they do is they build more authority for your domain. So it makes your website more powerful and more visible in Google. So I would definitely have a look into adding your charity to more listings, more sites like that to get backlinks, basically. And then forums is a good one. So once you kind of have an idea of who your donor is and where they hang out, answer things on forums, start messaging, start communicating with people. And again, that's another backlink towards your website and your donation pages. So yeah, that's basic. I mean, I'm not going to go way into details with campaign goals. I'm sure you all know. But I will touch a little bit more on capturing warm leads. So hopefully your amazing campaign has got everyone to your donation pages. Hopefully they've made a donation. But if they haven't, or they're just not ready, we kind of need to look at how we capture those potential leads, those potential donors. And one of the ways is lead forms. I'm sure most of you know what a lead form is, but if not, it's designed to collect contact information on the website. So usually email, phone number, things like that. Usually found on landing pages or pop-ups or embedded on your blogs. Most people will know it as a general contact form on a website, but it can be so much more. And I think lots of people may forget that a lead form can do so many more things. So for example, a capture form or a pop-up. So you've probably been on websites and you get pop-ups and some of them are really annoying, admittedly. But what you could do is make sure that the timing is right. So if somebody goes onto your donation page and they're having a look around and they've been on there for 10, 20 seconds, then you could add a pop-up and say, not ready to donate, that's fine. Join our newsletter or join our community for more information, and kind of give them that little nudge to be a part of it, even if they haven't donated. And I know there's some kind of legislations and rules behind that, which I think Robin touches on later. Obviously adding them to an email list would be really important. And there are some other actions that you could do, so that sort of smaller actions like signing a petition, so you can capture information that way. You can capture leads through petitions, signing up for new events, Free downloads is a really good one to capture leads, because everybody likes a freebie. And obviously if you make it relevant to your charity, then it's helpful to them, it's helpful for you, and everybody wins. So for example, 10 simple ways to reduce your carbon footprint, if that's what your charity is about, or a guide to adopting your perfect pet. And 9 times out of 10, people will give their email address for something like that. I do it all the time. And then, yeah, you could capture these emails, create an email journey or a follow-up strategy through your own kind of marketing channels. And then there's reconnecting. So a little bit further away from the website, kind of, you know, adding pop-ups and forms on your site. This is just generally reconnecting with your older donors or people who have previously supported you. And I know you all don't have all the time in the world to kind of pick up the phone every 2 seconds and say, hey, you used to, you know, so thinking of enticing ways to reconnect with donors is a good idea. You know, I came across a charity who was running an ambassador program, and I thought that was a really good idea. So they invite some of their previous supporters or even businesses and corporates and ask them if they'd like to be an ambassador. And what that means is they just share for their cause and they support them online and share all their stuff. And in return, they get like a nice little badge to put on their website or something that kind of feeds their ego a little bit, because they all like their ego stroked now and then. So that's an idea that obviously is less kind of techy, that you could do quite easily with low cost. Give people early access as well, so make them feel a bit exclusive and a bit, you know, give them early access to a new event that you've got coming on. So they've perhaps been to an event a year ago, you kind of, you know, look, do you want early access to this one? And then another one that is actually a bit more digital, easy fundraising. I don't know if many of you have heard of this. I only came across it a couple of months ago, and I just think it's brilliant. So I'll show you the website. It's basically a website that charities sign up to, totally free. And what you do is you get your supporters to also sign up as a user for free. And basically, whenever they shop, they get to donate to your charity automatically. And it works as a Chrome plugin. So it just sits up here. And anytime you go on to do your shopping online, it will pop up on the corner and it will say, do you want to donate? And you just click yes. And then it sends a lovely donation to the charity. It's really easy to set up. And I just think it's a great way to get donations, even though they're probably each one's very small, but they all add up once you've got loads of donors, you know, and it's something you can put on your website. You know, every time you do your shopping, donate to us for free. You know, it doesn't cost me anything, it doesn't cost the charity anything, it only costs the shops and the companies, and rightly so, because I think they all have the money to do it. So but yeah, you get to see who's the biggest donators, and you can even book holidays on there. You can do your car insurance and stuff. So if you're not on there, I would definitely recommend jumping on there. And if I just show you quickly, that it's an app as well. So you don't just have to have a desktop and Chrome. People can use it on their mobile app. But if, for example, I want to shop at Morrison's and I just click it, it will just pop up here. And I click donate, and then I carry on doing my shopping, and that's all I need to do. So yeah, definitely recommend that. And yeah, just to kind of cover that section, just remember to create free material if you can, or useful insights to capture emails. Use curiosity to get more lead form submissions. So, you know, like I said, sign up to our next event, just kind of be a bit more curious. Nurture warm leads with a follow-up strategy, and automate it if you can, and reconnect with your previous donors. And I think I'm nearly at the end, so hopefully you're still with me. So the key takeaways, I think, from the whole session is hopefully you know some kind of basic structure for your donation pages, and don't be afraid to change them, and, you know, go with different seasons, try different things, use Hotjar to monitor what's working. and just remember to hook them in, nurture them and capture any that have tried to run away, and then retarget your previous donors. So they're the key takeaways. And if anybody does want to download the donor inspiration pack, you can do. You can either scan it on there, or you can go onto my website. So I've included all the templates plus an extra one, and which is a subscription template. And there's also 6 bonus donor offer ideas on there as well. So different, like I touched on the merchandise before, I've added some other different ideas that you could do rather than just asking people for money. So feel free to download that. I will ask for your email in exchange, because I wouldn't be in marketing and web design if I didn't. So, so yeah, but that's me, and thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Tony. I was like so many great tips in there.
I know, sorry.
No, it's great. It's great. Like I'm writing down like Hotjar, like look at Hotjar, easy fundraising, all these things. So thank you so much. So we're going to swap over into I've got a short section on lead capture. So just if you everyone gives us 2 seconds, we're going to, Tony's going to stop sharing and I'm going to share my screen instead. And then by the magic of technology, I wanted to, and this really just builds on the information that Tony has given us, but I really wanted to sort of double down on lead capture, because when I've been speaking to lots of small and mid-sized charities, I think this is really a missing piece, and it can be kind of confusing and overwhelming. And there's also elements to do with data privacy and what are we allowed to do. So I wanted to just take the end of this webinar to do a little deep dive into it. And of course, as always, put any questions in the chat. So Tony has already touched on this, but why leads matter is because if you're a large charity like Greenpeace, everyone already knows who you are, trusts you, likes you, knows your work. So for someone like Greenpeace, we could, sorry, I'm just multitasking, letting someone in from the waiting room. If I'm Greenpeace, I could do a campaign on Facebook. People might see that and just donate automatically, like just click donate, because they know Greenpeace, they already like my organization and they know my work. But if I'm a small to medium-sized charity and I don't already have that brand recognition, people don't know, like, and trust me, I need to nurture my donors more. And so capturing leads is a step in how we create long-term relationships with future donors. So we bring them through, we bring them into our community, into our organization. And the way we do that is by capturing their contact details. And then we can actually talk to them directly. So I'm going to do a quick note for UK charities. I have an international audience, and I think on this call, they're going to be people from different countries. And I will say that the data privacy and the laws around capturing people's personal information does really change depending on where you are in the world. I'm going to just pause on the UK because it is very interesting what's happening in this space. If you're not from the UK, I won't talk about this for very long, but also really encourage you, obviously, to look at your country or state and what rules apply to you when it comes to collecting people's personal information. So at the moment in the UK, in order for a charity to contact someone about fundraising, for example, the person whose email address or phone number it is needs to give explicit consent. So they need to sort of tick a box that says, yes, I'm happy for you to contact me about fundraising. And I've got an example of this later on in my slides. However, there is currently some changes going on in this space. There is an amendment going through in government at the moment that will allow charities what's called a soft opt-in. Now, this doesn't mean that you can just grab a load of email addresses and just spam like thousands of people, but it softens the rules about when you can contact someone. So if they have previously engaged with your charity, it opens the door for you to be able to email about fundraising, them about fundraising in the future. I won't go into huge amounts of details about this because I know it's not relevant to everyone, and I'm also not a data privacy lawyer. I don't want to give you legal advice, but I really encourage you to look into this if it applies to you. And you can see here on the screen that the Data and Marketing Association estimate that when this change goes through, it could result in £290 million more donations for UK charities. So the main thing I want to talk about today is this idea of a funnel. And this is kind of a key concept in a lot of marketing, but it's also a great way to think about how we get individual donors. So what you have here is four different levels of the funnel. At the top, you have awareness. And now this kind of feeds in a lot of charities I know already across this. Okay, I need to post on, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Facebook, it might be Instagram, but I need to get my charity, my cause, my work, and my mission out there for people to see. And further down the funnel, where I've got email and text message, you can see we've got stewardship. And I also see small to medium-sized charities doing this really well. So once I've got people in my ecosystem, I have their contact details, I email them about, not just to ask them for money, email them about my work, case studies, how a donation helps. But the thing that I see is often missing is this middle piece in between. And this is the idea of lead capture that Tony was talking about, because the lead capture is the key to translating from awareness, so just people on the internet who are looking at my content, to actually having the details to be able to contact someone directly. So when we're thinking about a lead capture, we want three things. And Tony has also touched on this. We want it to be relevant to our cause and our mission. So if we are a dog shelter, we might do something to do with pets, but we wouldn't do that if we were a charity that supports young people with cancer, for example. So it needs to be relevant to your cause and your mission. We want it to be appealing to your audience. And this is where it comes to knowing your donors. How old are they? What gender are they? What kind of interests do they have? Because we want to make something where people are like, yes, you can have my email address. That's fine. And we also want to offer free value. So it needs to be something valuable that we're giving away for free in exchange for someone's contact details. I've got lots of ideas here on the screen. Not all of these will be suitable for every charity, but so you might want to just whittle down on the one that works for you. So if your charity does do, for example, lots of deep research into a specific area, maybe a white paper or a report might be good for you. But you could also get people to sign up for webinars. And maybe you want to run an event. You could do a newsletter or a competition for photographs of people's dogs. There's all sorts of different things you could do that could be relevant for you, your charity, and importantly, your audience. So I have a really silly example here. So just like bear with me, but I wanted to kind of bring this to life for you. I've got my made up charity here is Save the Trees. My mission is to protect woodlands and wildlife in the UK. Now we're going to say in this example that I'm going to a local community event where there's going to be lots of families with young children. So this is where I'm thinking about what is my mission, what are my audience, and what is going to add value to them. So the idea I've created in order to capture leads, to capture people's email addresses, is a name a squirrel competition. So I'm going to invite people to give a fun name to a woodland squirrel, and then afterwards I'm going to email them a certificate with the name of the squirrel that they chose and a picture of a squirrel. Okay, I told you this is a silly example, but I'm hoping it brings it to life here. So this is a good example for this charity, Save the Trees, because I'm protecting woodlands, squirrels are in the woodlands, so it works with my cause and my mission. The audience I have is families with young children. So this idea appeals to them, right? The idea that you could name a squirrel and you could have the certificate and you could put it up on the fridge. And it also offers value. So it's giving the family something to do, something to talk about, a fun thing to engage with at this local community event. And all I need for this is a simple certificate template and a way to collect those emails. And I have an example of that on the next slide. So I wanted to give this example because of the sort of regulatory stuff I spoke about very early on. The important thing, and again, this applies to the UK, doesn't necessarily apply to every other country. But what you can see here, I've created a form where someone's going to give me their name, email address, and what their name of their squirrel is going to be. And this part in the center is really important. So this is where people are explicitly opting in, saying that I can email them about other things, not about the squirrel competition, okay? So this is a really important box. If someone doesn't check this, I can't email them about fundraising, about upcoming events. So I need to give them the why, okay? So if you want to know about updates on our work, you want to know about ways you can support us. I will still send them the squirrel certificate if they don't tick this box. This is important. We can't hold people to ransom and say, you can't have this if I can't email you. And then you can see here at the bottom that I said that I've got a privacy policy publicly available that people can go. So this is just one example. You can absolutely collect email addresses like this on paper, like it doesn't have to be virtual. But what you don't want to be doing is having a table, like one sheet of paper where you're collecting everyone's email on the same sheet of paper, because there's a danger that you're sharing someone's email address with someone else. So you would want this form to be a standalone form if you were doing this on a paper base. And of course, you want to look after this form and deal with it appropriately, shred it later, etc. So just be mindful of those things. Most of these things I've already covered. I've only got 1 or 2 more slides left. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat now, because I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a second and we can get to those as well. But some things to remember: to get consent, to keep data safe, to give the person control so they can unsubscribe at any time once you're emailing them. This one's really important. I've seen this in a few different charities, small to medium-sized charity do this. Don't link to someone else where they get the leads. So if you are, for example, a small animal shelter charity, and you see that Battersea Dogs Home or the RSPCA is running a petition, and you think, oh, okay, so that's really relevant to my audience because we care about the same things, okay? We care about protecting cats and dogs. You don't want to share the RSPCA's petition with your supporters as a small charity, because what you're doing there is you're taking your warm leads and you're giving them to RSPCA, which is a huge organization who has tens of thousands of donors already. So I can understand the temptation to do that, especially if you don't have the technical infrastructure behind the scenes. But like, I really, really encourage you not to give away the people who are interested in your cause and your organization. And then finally, don't be afraid of people unsubscribing. So of course, we do need to find the right balance of how often we contact people by email or any other means. There is such a thing as too many emails, of course, but don't let the fear of someone unsubscribing make you not reach out. Because at the end of the day, if someone unsubscribes, they're not the right supporter for you. And it's better to have a small group of people who open your emails, who donate, who read your content, who support your organization, than a list of hundreds and hundreds of contacts who are not engaged with the work that you're doing. I'm going to quickly talk about Pravi just at the end of this and how this links in. So the marketing funnel, this funnel here that I've talked about, this is really key to what we're building in Pravi, because when we're a small or medium-sized charity who wants to find new donors, we need to bring people on this journey from awareness through to lead capture and then steward them to become donors. So Pravi, the platform I'm building, helps small to medium-sized charities do this by creating donor personas of the types of people who are most likely interested in your cause, by building these step-by-step marketing funnels for you. And the steps in this funnel change depending on who your audience are. So your ideal donors might be on Facebook, but they might be on TikTok, or they might be on LinkedIn. And then Pravi will also suggest messaging that resonates with your ideal donor. In the future, on our roadmap, an upcoming feature is we actually want to build a tool that helps charities create these lead captures within Pravi. And so if this sounds interesting and exciting to you and you're not already part of a Pravi community, you can find out more information on our website, or you can email me, and I'd love to show you more about what we're building. So that's the end. As I put our QR codes up here on screen again, and as Tony said, you can contact us at any time if you have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing and just check the chat as well. If you have any more questions, obviously, please put them in.
Yeah, we have a good one from Greg, actually.
Oh, cool. Amazing. Yeah, great question. What's the happy medium frequency of emails to mailing list, do you think? I think it depends. But I think the most important thing is kind of like an 80-20 rule when it comes to the 20 would be the asking for donations, the direct asks, and the 80% would be the stewardship of bringing people along the journey with your work. So something cool that you've done, case studies, the impact that you've made. And so getting that balance right so that every email is not just an ask for money, but we do have the ask for money in there somewhere. And getting that balance right. I think in terms of how many emails you should send, it does depend on your capacity and your resources. And it's something I think to monitor in terms of open rates, click rates, unsubscribe rates, and see how your emails are landing with your audience. Do you have anything to add on that, Tony?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think measuring it in the first instance is the best way to go, but obviously you need to start somewhere. So, I mean, a rule of thumb that I was always kind of taught in my marketing past was kind of once a month to start with, and then you might be able to increase that to like once every 2 weeks, and then kind of monitor it from there. But it is different for every charity, so a bit of a test, trial and error as well, I think. So
thanks for that,
good question, but hard question.
Cool. Okay, so I don't think there's any other questions. Have a look in the chat. So yeah, we will be sending out the recording to everyone, and I'll send out the slides as well, so you can refer to those. But I think if there's no more questions, Tony, was there anything you wanted to say as like a wrap up, or?
No, I think I've waffled enough for everyone. But yeah, again, like head to my website if you want to download that donor pack. Oh yes, sorry, I'll send these links. I've totally forgot I was supposed to do that.
No, that's okay. So while Tony's going to put some links in the chat where you can access the free resources.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally forgot that. Other than that, yeah, that's me really, and I hope you all enjoyed it. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts or ideas about future webinars that would be useful to you, please just reach out to me on email, on LinkedIn. I love getting different experts in to talk to you all and to share. And I also learn a lot as well. So please just reach out to me if there's something that you think would be useful. But then I will let you go and everyone can finish their lunch.
Thank you. See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much. That was great.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.
Bye.